Sorry about that, folks. I had to stop the last video because my friend had come down the beach with his dog, so I had to kind of just talk to him. Well, I wanted to talk to him, so this bit won't be long. I'm just going to finish off from where I left off. So, obviously, as you can imagine, well, I suppose, after what happened to me with my brother's friend and the RAPE, as I say, I have to be careful because if you use certain words on YouTube, the algorithms pick it up and they don't like certain words being used. So after that particular incident, obviously things became worse for me emotionally. As I say, I hadn't told my parents what had happened. And for years, I did actually think that I had deserved what had happened, as I did, everything that happened to me in my life. As I say, my mum was always saying, it's all your fault. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be drinking, I wouldn't be in this mess. And I remember one day my brother had gone back to school, as he did, and I would be in his room blubbering my eyes out. And I remember I probably had what you would call a breakdown, I guess. I don't know if kids can have breakdowns, but I think possibly I was so emotionally overloaded with what was going on, from my parents, my brother, even though there were little glimpses, little nice bits going on in my life with my friend and her family and riding, and the stuff at home was getting worse. My father was exhibiting more and more violence, and so after this incident happened, I can remember I was absolutely distraught, and I was in my brother's room, and he was away at school. And I remember my mum walked into the bedroom, and she basically said to me, her daughter, who's bawling her eyes out, screaming, absolutely beside herself with grief and pain and turmoil, she actually just turned around and said, for goodness sake, pull yourself together. Pull yourself together. Your father can't help it. He's sick, he can't help it. And so that was that. And that was kind of what she was like all the way through, really. I mean, even later on when I had serious accidents on horses and crawled back to the house, and 3 hours later she'd come and find me passed out and realise that I'd been injured, and suddenly sort of sober up and realise that, oh my gosh, I better do something, take you to the hospital, or, they just weren't, she just wasn't in touch. My father wasn't in touch, she wasn't in touch. So after this, obviously this incident happened, I remember I had a budgie, and I loved this budgie. We used to have budgies, and my brother had gerbils, and this budgie, I came home from school one day, and I went to say hello to my little budgie that I loved, and it just dropped dead and fell off the perch, and it was dead. And I remember that had a major effect on me, because we went and buried it in the garden. But because I was so emotionally damaged, I kept digging it up every week and kind of watching it decompose, which, isn't normal, is it, for a kid to do that? And the other bizarre thing that I used to do was there was a farm next door to this bungalow that we lived in, and it wasn't. Well, they were cows actually. They were dairy cows. They used to bring the cows in and milk them twice a day, and I used to watch over the wall. But there used to be lots of dead rats about, and I don't know whether it was because the cat was catching them or whether they were being poisoned or whatever. And I used to spend hours playing with dead rats. I mean, it just shows, doesn't it, how... I mean, I had toys as a kid, don't get me wrong. We did have toys, we had lots of presents at Christmas, but I never played with dolls. I hated dolls. I don't even think I got given a doll. My passion was Action Men. And that was, it was because my brother was into Action Man. And so I used to play with his Action Men. And I used to love it, And actually, my mum used to knit little outfits for him, and because she was brilliant at knitting, she used to knit jumpers and scarves and hats and gloves and stuff for babies. And I mean, she was brilliant at knitting. She'd done it for years, and she taught me to knit. We'd sit there on an evening when it was cold in front of the fire, and we'd be knitting and I used to line these dead rats up on the wall, on their backs. And again, there was something about the kind of, the decomposition of the body and watching it rot and the smell. And I mean, vile now. I think back and I think, wow, And obviously my behaviour had, I don't know, I was a complete and utter mess, I guess. And I remember one day my friend, the horses, I remember she came round to see me, or came round to call for me to go and play. And I refused to come out of my bedroom. And Mum was trying to get me out of the room, and I refused to come out. And I remember this so vividly. I had a pencil, and it had a really sharp end on it. And my friend, I remember standing in the bedroom door, and I just got this pencil and I just stabbed it into her hand. I don't even know if she remembers this. I do. So, my kind of, there was a violent streak that was beginning to sort of come out in me, I guess. I mean, I'd never been cruel to animals. I loved the animals that we had. I was never cruel in that sense. But, I used to like playing with dead things, and as I say, digging my budgie up. And so, yeah. So obviously what had happened, with my brother's friend had basically a massive effect on me. There's no way it couldn't have done, is there? So I guess that's kind of just where I want to leave it for there, because shortly after this, we kind of upped and moved again. But my mum actually divorced my dad, and I get confused about this one, because I know she divorced him and remarried him. My brother seems to think that she did that twice, but I do know that she definitely did it once, which in my eyes is just bonkers. You try to get away from someone who's hurting you and your kids, and and you leave him several times, and then you let him back in, and then and then you actually divorce him, and then you remarry him, and it was all because, you know, my dad would promise, as I say, oh, I'll give up drinking, and then as soon as you take him back, boom. But I suppose had she not been an alcoholic, then it would have been different. But she couldn't live without him, like I say, and you know, so that was why, I guess. In amongst all this madness, we actually used to go on holiday most years. We used to go on boat holidays down the canals, you know, which was great. It was you know, it was a holiday, and we used to take the dog. We had a little Jack Russell that I remember at the time, and my dad would book a week away on this canal boat, and it was great until, you know, every pub along the canal he would stop at, and obviously go in and have some drinks, and there was numerous times that he would try to get back on the boat and fall in the water head first, and it was a nightmare. And it was very, you know, very small space on the boat, as you can imagine, and there were arguments. Didn't stop the arguments just because we went away on holiday. We used to go to Breen Sands and walk miles to find the sea, which you still have to do now. So we did have holidays, but, you know, it wasn't a holiday getting away from all the trauma and the chaos, because we took it with us. And I used to go over, you know, it's the same, my mum was cooking for this lady with the greyhounds, and I used to go and sit over there on an evening and watch my mum, you know, defer rabbits and hares, and because obviously these coursing dogs used to catch hares, and then my mum would have to get these mangled hares out of the back of this woman's van, and then prepare jugged hare and stuff like that. She used to hate it. She used to have to, you know, defer them, and I used to sit there for hours watching her cook, and, you know, on an Aga, which were great. Agas are great. God, I'd do anything to have an Aga. Never afford one of those. But yeah. So that was kind of what happened in that particular house. There was also, you know, stuff going on. I mean, as I say, my brother was getting more and more violent towards my mother, and yet I was still, you know, sort of going to school. And I mean, I loved primary school. I loved my school when I went as a kid, because I guess it was kind of a little escape, and, you know. So I guess that's kind of what I wanted to say on this one. And it's tough. I felt quite ill yesterday. I think not because, you know, of anything to do with what I talked about, but just because I guess it you know, it does have an effect on your body. And I spent most of the day on and off the toilet yesterday, and it's kind of a nervous thing, I think, more than anything. So we're just heading back home now, and then we'll give the dogs some breakfast, because I promised Hayden some tuna for his breakfast this morning, which is one of his favourites, isn't it? You like your tuna, don't you? So guys, that's kind of that's kind of it. Sorry I had to finish the first bit quite abruptly, but yeah. So we'll pick it up on the next video, where we move yet again to another house of horror. So that's it for now.